Ever felt like there's more you can do with your SLP skills, but just not sure what that looks like outside the therapy room? You're not alone. Today's guest, Jenna Cairo, is there right with you. After years practicing as an SLP, she expanded her strengths and built a thriving business as a virtual assistant for private practice owners. She found a new way to support the field beyond direct therapy. If you've been daydreaming about branching out, using your strengths in a different way, or starting your own business on the side, this conversation is for you. We're diving into what it really looks like to go from SLP to VA and what Jen has learned along the way that could help you find your next career move. Jenna is a type A speech language pathologist turned virtual assistant for private practice owners. She's all about helping SLPs stay organized, efficient, and focused on client care without burning out. With experience both in the therapy room and behind the administrative curtain, Jenna is passionate about making your business feel lighter so you can focus on what matters most. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's awesome. So does this cover everything? Is there anything else you'd like to add before we talk about your VA business?
I don't think so. That's perfect introduction.
Okay, awesome. So let's start at the beginning. How did you become an SLP and how has your SLP journey worked so far? What settings have you worked in?
Yeah, so my brother saw a speech path for a really long time growing up, had a lot of speech sound difficulties and just kind of seeing how that one person could really help him in so many facets of his life, like communicating, socializing, all the things kind of intrigued my idea of a speech pathologist. I always knew I wanted to be in the helping profession, so kind of just like navigating what that looked like and what I would want to do. There are four speech pathologists in my family. So a little bit, yeah, kind of like knew who to ask if that's something that I wanted to do. I am in my 14th year as a speech pathologist I've worked in schools and dabbled a little bit in private practice. Currently on summer break from a suburban high school is where I currently work full time. But yeah, I've primarily been in the schools, did a little EI for a brief period of time. Didn't like all the driving I had to do. And then, yeah, I have a couple like just side private practice clients that I also see. So kind of done a little bit of all of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. You've experienced it all. So since you have experienced it all and kind of done a little bit of everything, what would you say was kind of the first start of you doing this VA business? What gave you that idea?
To be fully transparent, daycare is expensive. We have two little ones, and we're just kind of trying to find like another avenue for additional funds for the family. I have a master's in educational leadership as well, so have always been into like administrative leadership, all of that kind of stuff. Kind of was starting to explore like maybe I should apply to be a principal or a vice principal, kind of like staying in the schools, but using more of like the administrative side of my brain as opposed to therapy. And then I had applied, gosh, for probably a year and a half, just like random, like hiremymom.com or like LinkedIn networking and just trying to find just little virtual assistant or anything like that, just to kind of like something I could do from home or do on my lunch break, just to like have some additional income. And then I was talking to one of my best friends in January and was just talking a lot about this. She's in the business world and I was just like, forget this. Like, I'm just gonna try it on my own. Like this, I can't keep like I was just nothing was landing with all those applications I was doing, and I would spend hours. I mean, some of them were super, super lengthy, and nothing would come of them. So I think February 1st, I made my Instagram and got two clients in February, and I am now at 15 clients. So
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah, yeah. So it definitely grew quicker than I anticipated. I was not ready for it, but it's been amazing. Like and my husband makes comments all the time like, "Gosh, you're so much happier doing like this kind of stuff." And I'm like,
Mhm.
this is just I don't know, I feel like I'm still helping. It might not be like clients or like children with disabilities, but I still definitely feel like I'm like giving back and helping and still staying in that like speech community as well.
Yeah. So would you say you kind of fell into this kind of part of the field, or what what helped you take the leap into doing virtual assisting? And then how did you figure out what skills you wanted to utilize, or like what skills you had before? Like you said, you have your master's in education, you said. Yeah,
Educational leadership. Yeah.
educational leadership. That's right. So how those kind of skills would transfer into something else.
Yeah, so taking it way back, I was like class president and student council. I just like loved that leadership and the systems and just making things like very organized so that things were more efficient and flowed better. I was part of the NISLA, National NISLA, so the National Student Speech Language Hearing Association I was on that board for 4 years. So really learned a lot there and just how the politics of speech pathology as like a grad student work and kind of have always just liked having more on my plate, I guess, and just like extra. Was part of an autism board as well. I'm part of a division for a DCD board, which for children with hearing impairments. I just like stay busy in that asset and just like giving back. I'm very organized. Like my Google Drive is pristine and I really like doing that. And from talking to other speech pathologists, I've realized that we're not all like that and kind of just being able to create systems and create policies and just create materials that's making their lives easier. Because I know and even just from my discovery calls that I have with my clients, like once I reach out or they reach out to me, I have a discovery call where I just like talk with them about like, what are you looking for? What do you want to delegate? A lot of times they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, walk me through your day. What are 3 things that you would love to not do? A lot of times it's billing. So I've learned, and kind of what going back on your question about like what skills do I have? I've learned so many skills just from since February, like doing this that I didn't know that I was quite frank capable of doing. And so just like that has been incredible. And just I think just learning from all of the private practice owners and then being able to be like, hey, like I have a client who does X, Y, and Z. Like I think this would benefit you. And just kind of things that they might not know about that I've been able to give to them, I think has really taken a lot off their plate and just made things more seamless in their day to day, which has been my goal this whole like idea of the business.
Yeah, that's awesome. So did you start out with having like one client at a time
Yeah,
and
I
do it
had
kind of on the
two.
side, or
Yeah, I had 2 in February, and my goal was by May, I wanted 10 to go into the summer break. And yeah, it just happened. Like I did a lot. I would just be like laying in bed, like sending messages on Instagram, like, hey, introducing myself and just like hashtag private practice owner. And like whoever came up, I was just like totally just reaching out that way. And it just grew. And I got a couple word of mouth referrals, quite a few on my website. And all of the discovery calls don't turn into clients, but it's like nice to hear about other people's journeys. And just like as a speech pathologist, I think that's been the coolest part is like there's so many different avenues you can go as a speech pathologist. That's like, I don't know, I've learned so much from them, probably way more than I've been giving them.
yeah. One thing that you said that resonated with me a lot was that you just kind of learned on the fly, like learned what you needed
Mhm.
while you were doing it. And I feel like I had a very similar experience when I first also started out as a virtual assistant and was doing so many different things for different clients I was getting. And if they were like, "Can you do this thing?" I would be like, "Sure
Yeah.
can," and I would learn it
Yep.
as I was doing it. So
Yeah.
even if someone maybe who's listening to this is like, "Oh, I don't know if I have, like maybe they don't have the same qualifications or have been on the same boards that you have, but you can learn while you're doing it. As long as you're
100%.
willing to learn or willing to put in the effort to do so, it's going to take you a little bit longer when you're doing something new, but anybody pretty much can start something on the side with whatever probably makes them happiest. I'm sure not everyone wants to do maybe billing or certain admin things,
Yeah.
but
And
yeah,
I will
that's
say, like, one thing at the beginning that I was like, oh, I don't want to ask my clients questions because, like, I'm supposed to know everything. Like, they're hiring me to do these things. But I kind of got to the point where I was like, well, I don't want to do it wrong because then that's just going to make more work for them. So I even just this morning, I hopped on a Zoom with one of my clients and I'm like, okay, can you share your screen and just walk me through these steps? Once you show me once, I will take this task off your plate. But I've learned to just like ask the questions. Loom videos are a godsend. I'm just like, hey, can you record this really, really quickly? Or even if I'm trying to teach, like if I'm creating a system for a client and trying to teach them the system, there's just so many options available to like learn that way. ChatGPT, yeah, always open.
I love
Um,
my bestie, ChatGPT.
yes. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I'm just asking the questions, just be like, hey, this what you're asking me to do? Because maybe what they're vocalizing to me, like I'm not interpreting the same way. And I just like because they're paying me to do these things. I just want to make sure I'm doing it right, do it right the first time. And then once I do it, a lot of my tasks are weekly or every other Thursday. They're very routine on top of I have all of my clients have like a handful of projects that they've also given me. So, but it's just like getting in that routine and just making sure I'm consistently doing it. And now we're good to go. But I always get nervous when I get that first client. I'm like, am I gonna do this right for you?
Mhm.
But it always works out.
Yeah. Is there anything that surprised you the most about your transition from probably doing mostly just direct therapy to also now doing your VA work?
I think the biggest thing that surprised me was how many private, two things, I guess, how many private practice owners are just like so overwhelmed and just have so much on their plate and just don't and I feel like a lot of us like speechies are a lot of us are very type A, like don't want to give things away. But then like once like I have a handful of clients that once they've given me X, Y, and Z, like they now have 4 to 5 more clients because they don't have to do those admin tasks. And so like they're bringing in more income. They're able to go get their nails done on a Thursday because they don't have to do something that they know that I'm taking care of and they feel confident that I'm going to do a good job. Another thing that surprised me is just like how cool speech pathologists are. I mean, if I could spend an entire day just doing discovery calls and talking to speech pathologists, like my heart would be so full. Like there's just so many amazing professionals out there that are just doing so many different things, but we're all like under that same umbrella as like speech language pathologists. So I think just like it's really opened up my eyes to the field and the profession that I do love so much, and then just the day-to-day work that like I just sometimes I just want to be like just let me do that, you know? That's what I'm here for. I don't want you to have to be like struggling so much. So yeah, and just I think and one thing that has surprised me too is that I used to be like that. Like I'm just gonna do it all myself because I know I'm gonna do it right. I'm gonna do it the way I want it done. And just like having those conversations with people, I think has really, really helped.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, we do have such a broad field that there's always somebody to learn more from, and everyone has their own like special interest that they have in the field or something that they've really, I don't know, niched down in for their private practice. Like even in our podcast interviews for Speechie Side Hustle, there are so many different providers who we've had
Yeah.
chats with that they would talk about like something that they're passionate about that I have never thought of. Or
Yeah.
like there's so much to learn. So when you first got like your couple of clients or even those like 15, I know you said a lot of them were word of mouth, but did you cold call a lot of them on Instagram or send
Yeah.
emails?
Yes. Lots and lots of cold calling, a lot of like copy pasting, changing their name and just like sending my website. Yeah, that's where I would say that's where I've gotten probably 7 to 8 of the clients. And then just like networking. One of my biggest clients, I actually reached out to her because I was interested in doing some sort of like passive income. And then now I'm working for her. And so, yeah, just like crazy how the world, and I feel like we are such a huge community, but we're also like a very small community. And so, like, 3 of my clients were word of mouth just from testimonials or like, hey, I have a friend who I have a speech pathologist who I work with who I'm not doing any of her admin. I'm doing a lot of her social media influencer type stuff. So like very different, but she was a referral from one of my other clients. So yeah, it's definitely crazy the need out there for virtual assistants. Like I said earlier, I think speech paths just aren't used to delegating or not thinking that that's like something that is an option without like you don't need office staff, you know? Like if you're an on-the-go speech pathologist, I can do this from my house for you. So yeah, I think that that's been the biggest piece.
Yeah, that's great. Are there any resources, podcasts, courses that you would recommend to somebody else who maybe would be looking into doing something similar?
I feel like a lot of what I just did was just from experience. I don't know that I didn't really listen to any like specific podcast. I mean, I did a lot, like I follow like a lot of other virtual assistants and kind of just like seeing their Instagram content and what they recommend and how they work is kind of how I got most of my I just and I like I said I think just from day one I just have always been very organized, systematic, and that knew that this was something that I really wanted to didn't know virtual assistant was a thing until like a couple years ago, and then kind of just picked it up from there. I was on, let's see, like last year, 2 years ago, and I was just like desperate for that like additional income. I did a lot of podcasts on like it wasn't like MLM stuff, but it was like post one Instagram a week and you'll get 16,000 like constantly like listening to those. Comment this and we'll send you this video. But obviously that didn't help me and that didn't isn't where I ended up, but it kind of just gave me that boost to like, yes, I really want to do something that inspires me, intrigues my brain, and also brings in that extra income that I've been looking for.
Yeah, and capitalizes on your skills.
100, yes, yes.
Yeah. So what do you think's been the biggest lesson you've learned from being a business owner and being a VA for private practice?
Time management, probably from like a personal standpoint. We have a 2.5 and a 3.5 year old. So really trying to work around their schedules while also like during the school year doing my full-time job. So really just kind of like managing my time to making sure that the delegated hours that I'm giving my clients are efficiently done and that, I'm very much like a yes man and like, can you do this? Oh, for sure. And I'm like, oh my gosh, can I do that? But yeah, I would say time management has definitely been like a huge skill that I have learned and have been able to give from what I've learned, been able to help my clients with that as well, which I think is huge when you have so many moving pieces in a private practice.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the idea of this for somebody who could be trying to start something on their own, but also what advice do you have for the SLPs in private practice who could be looking for your services? When you go on these discovery calls or even when like you're cold calling them, like what are some of the pain points that you look for to sell yourself? And for them, like you said, it's such a relief once they have all like some help. So what could be some signs for them that they need the help? I know it's a loaded question, but
Oh, I think that a lot of them are just like, I'm working weekends. I'm so overwhelmed. There's just so many moving pieces. I've noticed that one of the biggest things that people have delegated is the social media, which is huge right now, especially for like marketing and just like, sharing educational content. I always have the client introduce themselves, introduce where they are in their private practice, and then I don't even ask what they want to delegate until later. And kind of like I ask them, where do you see your practice in a year? And what do you need to do to get your practice there? And then we kind of like talk about that a little bit more. And then I end the call with like, what are three things that I could do for you like right now? And then from our conversation and from our call, a lot of times they're giving me like lists of things, like that they would love to delegate. A lot of times we'll just start with like a ton of my client, like one of my most recent clients just hired me to just do billing. And then now I've got like three projects for her. She's selling like a little outdoor guide for speech therapy, like to do with your children at home. And she's like, "Can you do marketing for this? Can you do this?" And like, I'm like, "Yes, like that." Those are like little tasks that I can take off of your plate that can then open up your day to not, and especially if it's things that like they've never done before, they then have to learn it, and that takes time. So I kind of like, and every call goes a little bit differently. Sometimes I like ask a little bit about me first and just kind of, I think that hearing what I've done for other clients then gets their wheels turning and is able to help them think about like, oh yeah, like I would love to not do this. And then like kind of after that discovery call, we are like depending on how it goes, I'll like follow up in like a couple days or whatever and see like, hey, how have the like, last couple days gone? Like, have you thought about what you'd want to delegate and kind of going from there? And I think it just like opens their minds to like, wait, yeah, I really don't need to be doing this, and the other thing. I would love to focus on having more clients or making my family dinner by 5 o'clock because I can't do that right now because I'm doing paperwork or things like that. And I think that that's a big thing too in our field. Like I obviously as a VA can't write your session notes. I wasn't there. I didn't take your data, things like that. And those take time. So like what can I do after you do your session notes? What are you doing that I could do that you then wouldn't have to do kind of thing? So all of my services are very customizable, very individualized to the client, where they are in their private practice, how big their practice is, what their goals are in a year, kind of just depends on that. But I definitely learn a ton from those calls and I'm able to just banter with the client to kind of like build that rapport and just make that connection to see what the next steps could be.
that's awesome. So would you say most of the clients when they're first coming to you, they're not really sure what they want for services yet, or is it like you start out doing, I don't know, maybe something small and then it grows over time?
Yeah, I think the ones that I'm cold calling on Instagram, I would say they're like, well, I don't know what I would delegate. I'm like, well, let's hop on a call. I just kind of offer that right away. The ones that reach out to me, they have a list, and some of them will be like, if I'm like, what are you looking to delegate? They're like, oh, let me pull up my list. So like they've thought about it. So there's definitely like two different types of clients. But then the ones that I am reaching out to at the end of the call, they're like, wait, yes, why have I been doing this whole time? So yeah, I would say there some are that are seeking a VA definitely know what they want to delegate. And then those who I'm kind of like cold calling or reaching out to on my own. Or like a lot of them are like, I just started. I only have like 5 clients. Like I'm definitely going to keep you in mind as I grow, kind of thing. So just even if I'm not landing calls or landing the clients in those cold calls, like at least my name is out there. They've got my account, they've got my information, and can potentially lead to more later down the road.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, networking is so incredibly important because you never know. Maybe they even know a friend who's, in private practice and needs some help.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what advice would you want to give to another SLP or someone in the field who wants to do what you're doing, or even advice that you would give yourself when you first started?
So I am kicking myself for not doing this a year ago. That would be my biggest piece of advice. Just if you've like thought about it, just do it, honestly. And like I was always worried about like, well, if I start a business, it's gonna cost me more money. But like truly, I bought a computer, like that's really all as like a virtual assistant. And then from there, I've been able to do like subscriptions or whatever. But yeah, I would say just do it. I mean, I would be up at night just being like, okay, like scrolling online, like what can I do for some sort of passive income or some sort of additional income? I know I'm good at X, Y, and Z. And yeah, I talk about it all the time with my friends. I'm just like, why did I wait till 2025? Like I've been thinking about this for 2.5 years. So that would be my biggest piece of advice. Just do it. And I was able to connect with a few other speech pathologists who do virtual assistant and just like hearing their stories, I think I'm just like, okay, I can totally do this. And starting with the 2 clients really got my feet wet and got me comfortable. And then it just yeah, just there's a need. There's definitely a needs and it blew up. So yeah, my piece of advice would be to just do it.
That's great.
Not
That's
trying to
great
steal
advice.
the idea or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I really want a part, as I was saying to you before this call, but I really want SLPs to know about these alternative career paths or SLPAs, that you don't have to go to grad school. You don't have to work in the school for 30 years. Like, there are other things that you can do that make you happy. And even if like direct therapy is what makes you the happiest, like maybe you are, looking for something a little extra on the side and you can capitalize on the skills you already have instead of trying to, pivot completely or do something else, or if that makes you happy to do that. But but I really loved hearing your journey on this. And are there any like stories or like a win that you want to share about like what keeps you motivated or like success story that you've had?
From the VA standpoint.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some like so I have a client who she's in New York and she was like driving over this one bridge like 300 times, not 300 times, a lot, very, very often throughout the day. And one of my actually very first like, really big projects that I did was we completely revamped her schedule. So now she's only on the one side of the bridge for like one full day and she's not continuously crossing it. And just like, seeing the joy that that has brought her to be able to like go do an 8 a.m. workout because she doesn't have to allot for so much driving time, or just her being able to grow her Instagram or do other things that she couldn't do before because she was just like all over the place. And knowing that I had a hand in that and kind of helping her redo that because like that's a daunting project and very overwhelming, and just knowing that I've been able to help her do that. And then another client actually just reached out a couple weeks ago and was like, I've been able to add on like 3 extra clients, which yes, adds more work, but then like is in like growing her practice. She just won an award for best speech pathologist in her area. So like really, really cool things, and just being able to be on the back end of that and like knowing that I had like a little toe in that success. Like I feel like it just like makes me so happy. And yeah, it's just been great.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Where can everyone find you and connect with you if they're looking for your services or maybe even have questions about what you're doing?
Yeah, so my Instagram is at Jenna Cairo VA, and then my website is jennacairovA.com.
Awesome. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much. It was so nice to have you.
Yes, thank you.